On your bitch, you can't forget about me. See, I'm dripping VVS. Hey, you see, I'm flexing on your bitch. Hey, you see, I'm flexing VVS. Don't forget about me. You see, I'm dripping VVS. They can't forget about me. No.
What's good, everybody? It's the TPS Gavone Show, FBG Gavone Show. I'm here with your boy Russo. We're here today to talk a little bit about the MLB trade deadline because obviously there's been a lot of happenings in recent days and teams have completely gotten facelifts and completely, started from the ground up in some cases, especially with the Yanks, which I guess we'll start with first. They moved Chapman, they moved Miller, they moved Beltran. You knew they were definitely going to move Chapman because he was freed up at the end of the year. We weren't sure if they were going to move Miller, if the offer was going to be good or whatnot. And then Beltran, obviously, the guy's having a great year. So, they reloaded. They got 10 new prospects. And now they have 8 guys in the Baseball America top 100, which arguably makes them the best farm system. And this team's going to be locked and loaded, come next year, and maybe not until 2018. But nevertheless, unbelievable change here and something we really haven't seen from the Steinbrenner's reign.
Yeah, definitely different. It's not the typical Yankee approach that we're used to seeing, where they're just buying out big player contracts. But at the same time, if you're a Yankee fan, you have to be excited. I hear a lot of people were disappointed once they decided to dish Miller because that was kind of the turning point where you knew, like, all right, well, now Beltran's going to go and a couple other
then you're
go.
fully waving the white flag where you're giving up on the season.
But it's like, people who are complaining about that, you got to understand that Cashman just traded away just 2 back-end bullpen guys. You still have Dylan Betances, who's 3 years younger than Miller. Well, he's like 28, I think.
I think he's 3 years younger than all of them. I think
right.
Chapman's
like
maybe a year or two older.
Yeah, so you have Dylan
Betances.
He's got some filthy stuff. He's a big dude at like 6'8". You got to be happy with at least keeping one of them, and he's the youngest with a super, super high ceiling. So to have him and still in your closer role, and then also in return for those guys, plus Beltran, who's 39 years old at the last leg of things.
Yep.
Is awesome move by Cashman, and not only did he bring in position players like Frazier and Torres that can be up in the major leagues within the next year or two, but he also brought in some big arm pitching prospects like Sheffield and Dylan Tate, I believe, who was the 4th overall pick for the Rangers.
And Rangers fans were really not that happy about that, honestly.
Cashman is stealing players from people, basically. He's wheeling and dealing.
The Rangers had a terrible year. What was it, 2 years ago? Right, they were bad, and now. Last year they won a division, I think.
And then the highest of highs, lowest of lows. They were in the World Series a couple years ago, then plummeted.
I think they're definitely in buy mode, though, but I don't think their fan base wanted to see them give up a prospect like Tate and as Tate's status. It was a little too high for them, I think, for 2 months of Carlos Beltran. Yeah. But what a return on investment that Cashman got
100%. On
Beltran. Are you kidding me? And what did we sign him 2 years ago, and now you get rid of him for a prospect instead of paying him and seeing nothing? It's really unbelievable.
And honestly, the same with Chapman. He's got not even a full season out of Chapman, and he's trading him for for
a stud,
4 prospects,
and middle infield,
stud Torres, who can come up and absolutely solidify a phenomenal infield with the Yankees. If Bird comes back healthy to take Teixeira's spot at first, then you have Castro and Didi up the middle, which is great.
And we don't even know if they're going to stay.
And everyone forgets Castro's been in the league for so long. The kid's 26 years old. Some people look at Castro like, oh, he's getting old. Like, this kid is 26 years old. So it's like you have Castro, you have Didi, you have Bird, you have Torres that can come up and play third base, hopefully, for them. You have, Frazier coming into the outfield. You have Judge coming into the outfield. You have Ellsbury, who's still
young.
Judge,
I think we'll see this season. I think eventually.
100%. Yeah. You have that. You have the catcher. What was it, Sanchez?
Yep.
Sanchez to replace
he's getting called up.
The moves that they made to bring in 4 or 5 of these young guys that can impact right away is just crazy. And it honestly reminds me of when they had their dynasty team of Jeter and Posada and Mo and all of this stuff. They have these young guys and with super high ceilings. And so Cashman did he did it.
He did it. Yeah. No, it was. In my eyes, and I wrote in my blog, it was really just highway robbery. he robbed these teams like dry.
Straight
He
up.
sucked them dry. All
100%.
three teams, the Indians, the Cubs, and the Rangers, sucked them dry. Now this team, and everybody likes to kind of talk about the Yankees' money, and I understand how that's a factor, but you don't buy championships just by blindly opening up your wallet. You build around a good core like you had in Jeter, Posada, Pettit, whatever, the core four, and then you pay to get the guys around them, and that's how you make the championship team. It's not just opening your wallet and getting everybody, because that's not how it works. It's honestly not how it works. So I always hate when people bring that up.
And it wasn't the move this year either for them. Like, guys are
exactly.
like, why aren't they buying
Why
aren't they buying these big name guys after they got rid of Chapman? It's like, okay, well, Yankee fans, look at your roster. You have Teixeira, who's on his last leg. You have Beltran on his last leg. You have A-Rod on his way out. You have CeCe, who's probably on his way out pretty soon. You have McCann on his way out. You have Headley on his way out. Like, these are all guys who aren't going to be in the league within the next 3-4 years. So they needed to get all these young guys. And not only did they get young prospects that are good prospects, but they're prospects that can see the major leagues within, like, the next season or two.
Right. The downfall of the Yankees and the reason why they really haven't been that successful the past 4 or 5 years is because they want to go after the household names and pay the big money to get these guys on the team because they think that draws the fans in, which it does.
I was going to say, I feel like they buy into the fan base.
They've done enough. They've done enough to skate by, only missing the playoffs a couple years in the past. In the grand scheme of things, in the past 20, they haven't even been under 500, and they made the playoffs every year except 08, 2013, 2014, and now this year they probably won't make it. But last year, I think they surprised a lot of people. A lot of people weren't expecting this sell prior to this year. But I think a lot of Yankee fans, and I can speak for, I think on behalf of all Yankee fans, I mean, we're ecstatic about this. Yeah. Like, this is a great thing for us. And if you go on the Baseball America profiles, you can read through all of them. Most of these guys say their ETA to the big leagues is next season.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're waiting on these dudes that were drafted like this year or last year. I know Tate was drafted last year, but he went through college. It's not like you're waiting on high school kids that may take 4 years to get up
and
here.
He's also
like, these guys are pretty much primed and ready.
And Tate's also the 4th overall pick. Like, you're the 4th overall pick in the draft. You're going to be ready to go.
Tate pitched at UCSB against great competition. I think UCSB made a pretty good run into Omaha this year. Did some damage there. He had a 2.16 in 3 seasons there.
There you go.
It's
ridiculous. And like a lot of people are like, oh, Tate hasn't panned out so far. The kid's been in the league for 1 year.
Yeah.
Like give him some breathing room. He's what is he? 22 years old, 23 years old, and he's in the majors for 1 year, or in the minors. So you got to give this kid just a slight second to develop because he could be a stud for you guys.
And then Sheffield, I mean, throwing from the left side like that, he reminds me of kind of like a young CeCe, maybe a little slimmer, but. We were actually, my club team 3 years ago, we were down in Georgia, and we were supposed to play him, and the game got rained out. Like,
nice.
So, yeah. Not saying I would have taken him a yard, but I probably would have K'd 3 times. Kid's throwing he was throwing 93 when he was like 17, so, yeah.
Good scoop for the Yanks.
So good news from Cashman. Good news for the Yanks. On to your Mets. What went down?
Well, to be honest, I woke up that morning. I was kind of listening like Boomer Carton on the fan, just trying to get any type of info I could on the Mets. And to be totally honest, I didn't think they were going to make any moves. I thought they had like I thought just the roster they have is good. It's just everyone is injured. They're all just plagued by injuries right now. You have Wright who's been injured. You have Lagares. You have Cespedes. You have Reyes now out. Everyone has been hurt. Duda's been out the whole year. Darno has been injured. So I was like, you know what? Like, do they have the guys? I feel like they're just all cold at the same time. They're all injured. But then when I heard about the Jay Bruce trade, obviously you can't complain about getting the NL leader in RBIs on a team who can't even hit. Who has the worst runners in scoring position average in the entire league. I think it's like 206 or something like that. And Jay Bruce is hitting like 360 runners in scoring position. So that's a huge get for the Mets. The downside is though they now have like 5 outfielders, 6 outfielders. So I don't know what they're gonna do with it.
No DH. So
yeah,
with
no DH. Because if anything, I'd be like, okay, throw Bruce as a DH. But actually, the good thing is right now is that they're playing the Yankees. the next 2 games at Yankee Stadium, so they'll have a DH, and I'm pretty sure they might play another series with an AL team right after that. So they might have 5 straight games with a DH. But like I said, so it's the outfield right now. They have Granderson, Bruce, Cespedes, Lagares, Conforto.
Yep. That's a lot.
That's a lot of outfielders, and we'll see.
Maybe
what
move one of them to first base. Maybe Bruce to first. Maybe Conforto even. I don't know.
Well, I think Conforto's too young that they don't want to move him to first yet. Yeah. I would kind of look at them as hopefully pieces to deal next season.
I think a lot of people look at the first base position and they say, "Oh, like anybody can play it." But that's not the case. If you're in October and you have a tweener scoop ball, like those are the plays that experienced first basemen make. That your average guy who you just kind of throw there, he won't make that play.
No way. And even the little things like turning double plays the right way, using the right footwork, being smart with the ball, bunt defense. It's not an easy position.
No,
really.
no.
You got to look at it as just like another hot corner, just like third base.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I thought the most underrated thing about this whole thing was that before last night, Mets won 7-1. The Yanks won in 6-5 in extras the night before. The Yanks and the Mets would have had the same record if the Yankees had won the last night.
Yeah.
Which is insane to me, because if you look at how these teams dealt at the deadline, it was polar opposite.
Yeah.
Polar opposite. And I understand the AL is a bit more competitive in the wild card this year, but I think the Yanks are still like 5.5 out. How many games are you out of a wild card spot? Like 2 or 3?
Yeah, like right behind, I guess, the Marlins maybe. I think either Marlins or the Dodgers, and they got to be right.
But the Marlins have a pretty good record.
They do have a good record. I mean, the
just
Mets.
Got
I think
Gordon back.
Yeah, and the Mets are probably about like 6-7 back from Washington right now. But then you also got to look at
I don't think they're going to catch Washington.
I don't really think so either. But then you also got to look at the Yankees, their current roster, and it's like because of their age on that
team.
And It's like, are we going to go for it all this year?
And they're chasing 3 teams ahead of them.
Yeah.
Like all 3 of those teams could make the postseason, and the second and third runner-ups will play each other in the wild card game.
Yeah, the AL East is something else right now.
Yeah.
With Baltimore and the Sox and Toronto. But as far as the Mets go, it is crazy that, I'm not surprised because the Yankees have been playing pretty good baseball since the All-Star break. The Mets have been playing absolutely horrendous. It's difficult to watch. Familia's 2 blown saves back-to-back couldn't have came at a worse time for the Mets. Similar to it's almost like they're replicating last year's disaster. Familia blows a 9th inning save against the Braves in a game he never should have. They get Cespedes. They go on a run. I wrote in my blog that I don't think Jay Bruce is going to have the same impact as Cespedes, obviously. The guy had one of the best months in baseball ever last year.
Yeah.
But I think he was a necessary piece to hopefully, jumpstart the offense a little bit. Just because they have the runners on all the time. They just can't get them in. So hopefully this guy can, help them do that. And they don't need a ton of runs. They just need, 3-4 runs.
They need him and Bruce to heat up, though.
For sure. And Cespedes is back in the lineup now.
Cespedes, I mean by
yeah.
Yeah.
He's back in the lineup. His hammy or quad, whatever, has been bothering him. He's just going to DH against the Yankees.
Yeah.
So that's the downside. Also, I think people might use it as the Mets might use it as a cop-out to let Cespedes walk next year, depending on Bruce's contract, because they might just take Bruce and be like, all right, Cespedes can go, which a lot of Met fans wouldn't really enjoy. But you got to see what happens. I mean, Cespedes, I know he likes the city, and you can't really talk.
I think the biggest thing for the Mets at this point, it's you guys gotta at least get back to October.
Yeah,
you can't go home in September this year.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think that's looked at as a loss no matter what.
If you do, that's a big time loss
for sure.
And I know things haven't bounced your way at all this season. You had Wright hurt, you had Duda hurt. I mean, you name it, the injuries are there. Yeah. Harvey obviously goes without saying, but at the same time,
they're in an NL they're in a not a very competitive race right now.
Are you telling me that the Nationals are going to beat you? I mean, come on, really?
Or that the Marlins are going to take a wild card spot ahead of you? Look at your staff, look at your roster compared to these guys. They're making trades trying to get Ivan Nova. You got to be beating these teams. It's sad, especially with the tail end of their schedule. They got the Braves coming up, the Phillies coming up. They need to win these games.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't make the playoffs, it's really just it's kind of sad. It's
It is.
It's a definitely loss.
Definitely an L.
The one other trade they made, Jonathan Neese, he's coming back to the Mets.
I like that move. Why not?
I like that move. Why not? I hate Logan Verrett as a starting pitcher for the Mets.
He's terrible.
He's done absolutely horrendous. My dad's trying to tell me the other night how good he's been. I'm like, have you looked at this man? He's got 3 wins on the year, and they were when he came out of the bullpen in like the first month. Other than that, he's been a starter since Harvey left. He has no wins. His ERA is up above 4. And you got Neese on the other hand, who is he a little shaky? Sure, but he's still 8-6 with a 4-something ERA, and he's coming back to a team where I feel like he has a lot to prove. He badmouthed the Mets when he left. He talked shit about their defense, saying like, okay, well, I'm happy to go to a team that's going to play defense behind me, so I'm sure he's got some.
Well, he was talking about when he had Murphy at second base.
Probably, yeah. And like in the outfield, because you got to remember Neese was on the team from 2008 to last year, so he spent he spent 7 years in absolute turmoil in the Mets organization until they finally made the playoffs last year, only for them to be like, hey, you're not actually starting for the playoffs. This youngster Steven Matz is, and you're going to the bullpen, and once we lose the World Series, you're traded.
Yeah.
So like, of course he's going to be a little bit bitter. He's like,
he's going to want his redemption. No, he's going to want to do his best to bring you guys back.
100%. That's what I'm thinking. Is like, you know what? There's got to be a fire lit under his ass a little bit to be like, you know what? I'm going to try to more things. But I also heard that they have no intentions of making him the full-time starter over Verrett. They want to use him out of the pen like they did last year. I like him out of the pen. But I just hate Logan Verrett as a starter. So I hope that either way, I think he's a boost for their team. But I really hope that they end up using him as a starter instead of Verrett.
So now talking about the teams that won big at the deadline and got those household names: the Indians, the Cubs, the Rangers. I'm gonna stick with my prediction from a couple weeks back that I said the Rangers were gonna take it. I think now adding Beltran, you have a guy that can hit in the middle of the lineup. Totally forget about Fielder's injury, and then I think they have a decent enough back into the bullpen where it can enable their lineup to not score that many runs and not be pressured, because you look at guys like Darvish, you look at guys like Hamels, those are big time names that I think are going to be able to step up come October, and I think those are going to be the names in the headlines.
Definitely. I feel like in order to complete their team, they should have gotten maybe one more big time starter for their rotation, but they do have.
There wasn't much on the market for them.
Yeah, they do have the offensive power at this point, though, to kind of cruise by with that, though. Like you said, Darvish and Hamels are excellent. They snagged Lucroy for catcher.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. They have Mazzaro, whatever his name is. They have Odor at second base, who's been playing really well. They have Desmond, who's been playing excellent in the outfield.
They have a great lineup.
They really do.
And they have a bunch of guys that are having career years. I mean, if you were to tell me that Ian Desmond would have been an all-star after leaving the Nats and coming to the Rangers, I would have told you you're
or laughs in your face.
Yeah. So, they obviously have a good core group of guys going forward, and they're going to be positioned they're gonna be poised for a championship run. I think come October.
Big win for them. Smart moves. They're all in when they're dropping Dylan Tate for Beltran.
Yeah. And then they also got Lucroy, so that's a big pickup too. After he vetoed his trade to the Indians, which I really didn't understand. I don't really know too much about it. I didn't read into it a little bit.
I looked into it. Yeah, they said. He was, I guess the way the contract would have worked out is like by 2017. I don't know the logistics of the contract, but essentially he was upset because he felt that when his contract would be reconstructed or like towards the end of it, that other players would end up starting over him, like Yan Gomes or whoever else they have. So, and Yan Gomes is hitting like 1-something right now.
I don't know why he would be afraid of that.
I don't know why he would be either. You're an all-star.
But, I mean, it's not like he went to a team that's not in contention. I mean, the Rangers are going to be right there with the Indians. They might even play each other in the ALCS. Who knows?
Yeah, but that was like the concern from Lucroy. He was saying that how he whatever the contract was, he felt as if he would be a difficult battle for starting position by the time like 2017 came around or something like that, which is a little ridiculous, but whatever.
Right, and now I think the Indians with Miller at the back end of their pen. That's a scary team to face in October.
They really are.
Because I mean, if you're looking at looking at Corey Kluber or Danny Salazar starting, and then you know Miller's going to be lurking in the bullpen, you know that you can't give up more than like 3 runs to their lineup. And it puts a lot of pressure on the other team, really. It really does.
And honestly, look at Michael Brantley to come back before October.
Yeah, no, he'll be back too. And that guy raked, dude. He's hit like 330, I think. You know.
You know, he came back briefly. I got him on fantasy, so you know, he came back briefly. He was ready to go, and then he had some type of thing, whatever, still up with his shoulder. So he got surgery on it right away, and he's already taking.
He's going to be a key piece of that. He's going to be a key cog.
And he said he expects to be back and ready to go for October. So that's a big time piece for them.
Now
they also have possible Rookie of the Year candidate with a student, I think Naquin is his name, in the outfield. He's raking. He's hitting like 3-something.
Yeah, and then you obviously have Lindor at short, one of the better shortstops in baseball right now.
Definitely.
Too. So now I look at teams that are the most complete, and in my eyes, the most complete team is the Chicago Cubs, I think, by far. I think they have a lot of playoff experience. You know, Lester and Lackey in that rotation, and that really goes like, that's a very underrated thing. I mean, you think about how many postseason games John Lackey and John Lester have been involved in. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of games under their belt. They're going to be comfortable. And, you know, I think a lot of these younger guys in the Cubs lineup, that might come down to it, where if they're not hitting right away in that ALDS series, you know, there's going to be a lot of pressure on those guys, especially Rizzo and Bryant in the middle of the lineup there. So, but, I mean, the addition of Chapman, I mean, if the Cubs score like 4 or 5 on you, like, you're losing the game. Mm-hmm. You know, you're losing.
When you have a guy who can just shut out like that by the end of the game, that's huge, especially for a Cubs team who's got one of the most potent offenses right now in baseball.
Yep.
So to get a guy like Chapman and to be able to seal the deal is a huge move for them. You know, they really didn't need to make a ton of moves. They were pretty much already a close to complete team. If honestly, what you're saying about the experience,
they really just have to hope that they don't shit the bed, honestly.
Yeah.
In terms of the experience.
Honestly, what you're saying in terms of experience, like if I were to pick a weak spot of their team, it would be their rotation. Just not Arrieta, not Lester, but just in the fact that, you know what, Lackey's had.
I mean, you can't discount Hendricks. Hendricks is top 3 in the league behind Bumgarner and Kershaw right now. Although Kershaw's obviously injured, but he's having an awesome year too. But again, he's a young kid with really no playoff experience.
Yep.
So it's hard to project. It's hard to foresee. But I think the Cubs are the most complete team in my eyes. Probably the odds-on favorite to win it. I'm still going to stick with the Rangers, though, I think. Mm-hmm. And the Giants stayed pretty quiet, but I don't really think that they needed to add much. I don't think they were willing. Either. And like the Giants always stay like very low key in my eyes, right? Uh-huh. I mean, they never do anything crazy. They're never really that much in the headlines, but they're always a solid team, year in and year out, or really just every other year when they win a World Series.
I'm still picking Giants to definitely go far. Look at a series because. You look at their starting 3. They have Mad Bum. They have Quaid, who's having a career year. They have Samardzija, who's pitching really well. They have a pretty good closer. You know, their roster just always finds a way to tack on runs with dudes like Posey. Now they added Matt Moore from Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that was the low key addition they had.
Who's like, listen, he's a good player and he's going to add offense and get RBIs. He's a big guy. And in the people say they hit a little bump in the road in the middle of the season towards the All-Star break a little after, but I think it was due to a couple injuries they had to key guys. So look at them as a healthy roster to kind of also be. I don't even want to say dark horse because why can you say this team's gonna be dark horse? They won 3 of the last 5 World Series.
Yeah, no, they're definitely not a dark horse. They're gonna be. I would love to see a Giants Cubs NLCS.
As a
good series.
I would love to see that too, but as a Mets fan, obviously I want to see the Mets in there.
Yeah, and then you obviously have to see how things play out here. You know, I like they say, anything can happen in baseball. So, you know, if one guy goes down for one of these teams, that changes the whole landscape of how everything is being predicted here. So, I guess that pretty much does it here. We will be at the Subway Series game tomorrow. We'll have video posted hopefully by Friday morning. Mm-hmm. We'll try to make it nice.
We'll be in no shape to post it Thursday night.
Yeah, we won't be in any shape to post that thing Thursday night. So, thanks for watching, and be sure to check in for that video on Friday. Peace. Mm-hmm.